Is today the day Russell Wilson becomes a Pittsburgh Steeler? Welcome into Steelers Talk. Today we're going to be discussing the implications of Russell Wilson's visit with the Pittsburgh Steelers this afternoon and whether or not he is going to sign. And then also the Steelers have released 2 players on the defensive side of the ball. We'll break down those, what the cap number looks like heading into free agency, and what cuts could be on their way before free agency starts. But before we get into today's news and rumors surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is why you subscribe to the channel, all right? If Russell Wilson signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers today, or at least agrees to sign with the Steelers today, we are going to be going live on the channel, okay? So make sure you guys click that subscribe button, because if Russell Wilson signs, we are going to be partying it up right here on Steelers Talk. And then also next week during free agency, seems like the Steelers could be pretty active in the early days next week. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button to never miss any breaking news action, 100% free, right here from Steelers Talk. All right, so let's start with the big Russell Wilson news today, which is that we knew yesterday that he was going to meet with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and today we get word that he is going to do the in-person visit with Mike Tomlin and the Steelers front office today in the city of Pittsburgh. And according to all the people reporting things right now, the Steelers are trying to get a deal done today. So Adam Schefter had the news early this morning saying before traveling to Pittsburgh today, Russell Wilson stopped in New Jersey for what one source described as an exploratory meeting with the Giants. Per league sources, Wilson is in Pittsburgh today to meet with the Steelers. Per sources, here's a photo of Russell Wilson getting ready for his flight to come to the Steel City. So it's absolutely confirmed it is airport season in the National Football League. And then shortly after, Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette puts out another article today, and he says the Steelers were scheduled to meet Friday with the former Denver Broncos quarterback with the intention of possibly signing him in free agency. And then he continues to say here, they apparently think a player such as Wilson, a former Super Bowl winning quarterback in Seattle, can make that happen more immediately than what they have at the moment. Make no mistake, their urgency is more than palpable, suggesting that the Steelers may want to get an agreement done with Russell Wilson during his visit today. All right, so that's very exciting stuff. Now, it is worth noting that Russell is reported to already have had a meeting with the New York Giants, and there's also a meeting in place for the Las Vegas Raiders. So it seems like Russ might be weighing his options here, but if the reports are true that Russell Wilson has serious interest in joining the Pittsburgh Steelers and they offer to sign him today, I think Russ might just agree to the contract today. I mean, that's what I really think is probably going to happen, and I do think Russ is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, or at least he's going to agree to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers when the Broncos release him next Wednesday over the next 24 hours, okay? So I do think this news is going to break. Yesterday, I put out a video detailing why I think this is the right move for the Pittsburgh Steelers, why it's the right move at the right time, why it could even be a good thing for Kenny Pickett as well, because he gets to sit behind an experienced veteran. You don't have to give up on Kenny Pickett if you signed Russell Wilson to a 1-year contract. It leaves the door open. And then also Russell Wilson had a really good statistical season last year, and if you combine him with the Steelers' defense and their weapons and their run game and Arthur Smith as an OC and Mike Tomlin as a great head coach, I think this makes the Steelers at least gives them at least a fighting chance to be a Super Bowl contender next season. Whereas if you go with Kenny Pickett, I think becoming a Super Bowl contender is pretty much a long shot. So I do think this is the right move for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I do think Russ is going to agree to terms by the next 24 hours, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button. But then what this could also mean here, and another possibility that's on the table for the Pittsburgh Steelers when it comes to their interest in Russell Wilson, is that it could also be somewhat of a ploy from Omar Khan to get Chicago to pull the trigger on a Justin Fields trade, because the reports are saying Poles wants at least a second-round pick, and no team is willing to give him that. So if the Steelers might have like a 3rd or a 4th-round pick on the table right now, and they might be pushing out this Russell Wilson stuff, even meeting with him, to get Ryan Poles to be like, you know what, fine, we'll take the deal for Justin Fields. So that's certainly a possibility, but if you ask me, guys, I think that is the less likely option at this point, okay? Because I do think if you're bringing in Russell Wilson, you're flying him to the city of Pittsburgh, you are spending the afternoon with him. I think that interest is real, and I do think that they feel like because you can get him for the vet minimum, which is $1.2 million, that's 4 times less expensive than a guy like Mason Rudolph would cost in free agency, for example. I just think that they feel like that is a great value for this football team, and it would really provide the Steelers a fighting chance at a Super Bowl championship next season. So what's the move? Let me know down there in the comments section. Which guy do you think the Steelers would rather get as their next quarterback here? Type RW if you think Russell Wilson, or type JF for Justin Fields. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. So now I want to go over my updated QB targets list, all right, because I got, it's been a while since I've gone over my list, so I've got my top 5 here. So we'll start with Jacoby Brissett. I like Brissett's game, all right? I don't think he's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. It looks like he's going to be a New England Patriot, but I like his ability to throw over the middle. I think he'd be a good fit in Arthur Smith's system. So if you're looking for somebody, a good veteran, that's going to be able to really provide serious competition for Kenny Pickett, and none of the other options really work out, I like Jacoby Brissett, even though it's unlikely. Then I'll go with Ryan Tannehill at number 4. Tannehill has definitely fallen off. He's starting to get older. Age is starting to catch up with him. That was pretty apparent last year in Tennessee, but he had the most successful years of his career in Arthur Smith's offense. He's really good at targeting the middle of the field within this system off of play action. So listen, if they want to keep Kenny Pickett as their starting quarterback and you want to bring in a backup that you at least trust to kind of like bring in case Kenny Pickett stinks, Ryan Tannehill is probably the best option for that. And the number 3, Mason Rudolph. Jerry Dulac did say in his article today that the Steelers are unlikely to bring back Mason Rudolph. But listen, man, I like Mason. I think he's a good quarterback. I think the Steelers could do a lot worse than Mason as their quarterback if they bring him back. I do think he would eventually become the starter next season if it's between Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph. I'm pretty sure Pickett would probably start the season. Rudolph would probably finish the season as the starter again. But at the end of the day, I don't think he has the Super Bowl upside that I'm looking for. So at the end of the day, I don't love it, but, you could do a lot worse than Mason Rudolph. Let's put it that way. Then number 2, Justin Fields. And, I think Mason Rudolph is probably a better passer and a better quarterback right now than Justin Fields is. But Fields has that upside that could land the Steelers in Super Bowl contention, all right? Because if Justin Fields hits and he becomes a good passer in this league with his rushing ability, especially within Arthur Smith's system, with the running backs that we have, with Justin Fields, this would probably be the most dynamic running game in the National Football League. But the passing game, he definitely holds on to the ball too long. He doesn't see the field very well, so that stuff concerns me. But I would rather have Fields over Rudolph because of that upside, and I'm trying to win, and I'm trying to win Super Bowls. Justin Fields gives you a better chance at that, in my opinion. And then number 1, it is Russell Wilson, all right? I think that he's got the whole package. He's cheap. He's actually the most affordable option on this list by far, all right? So Russell Wilson, you can get him for $1.21 million. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, so that moment isn't going to be too big for him if he ends up making it there. Kenny Pickett and Justin Fields have no playoff experience. And then you got Russell Wilson, who had a better passer rating than Patrick freaking Mahomes last year. No, I'm not saying Russ is better than Mahomes, but I'm saying a guy that had a better passer rating than him last year is available for the vet minimum. I think that if that's the case and he wants to play for you, you got to add him to your team. So Russell Wilson is my number 1 option, and that's my top 5 list right now because Kenny Pickett's the only quarterback on the roster right now. You have to pick up somebody in free agency. So this is my top 5 list as of right now. So now let's shift over to some releases here, some cuts that the Steelers have made. And it is official that the Pittsburgh Steelers have cut Patrick Peterson after just 1 season with the team. Last year, his Pro Football Focus grade was just 60.5. That's definitely not a great grade right there. And you can save just under $7 million in cap savings by letting him go here. You are taking on about $3 million in dead cap as long as they're not doing a post-June 1st designation. And the reason for this, guys, is that Patrick Peterson definitely lost a step last year. He could not survive on the outside. We saw that. throughout the entire season. He was just getting cooked. And listen, he played better as a safety when Minkah Fitzpatrick was hurt. He played a very crucial role in the Steelers' kind of late season surge towards the playoffs. But at the end of the day here, the Steelers think that they can get a better starting safety for that $6.85 million that they're getting back here by cutting him than if they just kept Pat Pete and played him at safety. So right now, the safety market is very robust. There's a bunch of really good safeties hitting the open market, and here are some of the biggest names that the Steelers can consider. Justin Simmons is a very popular name, 4-time All-Pro, still a really good player. The Broncos just had to let him go because of their cap situation with all the dead cap that they are taking on with Russell Wilson's release. Jordan Poyer is another guy from the Buffalo Bills, still a really good player. Xavier McKinney might be my number one option because he's versatile, he's big, he can play in the box as a true strong safety, which would allow Minkah Fitzpatrick to roam center field, be a true free safety, and fuck shit up like he can. Geno Stone had a lot of interceptions last year with the Baltimore Ravens. And then Julian Blackmon, I think, is another name to really watch out for. He can play in the box. He's versatile. He can actually play free safety as well. Very hard hitter. He's got Pittsburgh Steeler written all over him as well. So I think the two names to watch out for here, Xavier McKinney and Julian Blackmon for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And listen, guys, get ready because, Patrick Peterson leaving, Levi Wallace looks like he's not going to be returning to the Steelers. It looks like Pittsburgh is going to probably sign a nickel corner of some sort, an outside corner, and a strong safety in the early days of free agency, okay? So buckle up because I do think Omar Khan is going to be spending some money here in free agency in the coming days, and it's definitely going to be very, very exciting. And along with Patrick Peterson, they have also cut Keanu Neal. This was yesterday's news, actually, but with the Russell Wilson stuff, I didn't get to it. But Keanu is somebody that, he's a bigger guy. He kind of fit what the Steelers wanted to kind of fill that Terrell Edmunds role in this defense, but he was hurt. He didn't really play all that well when he was in. And at the end of the day, man, you can save $2.25 million by cutting him here. So I think it is a good move from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And after all of these cuts here, after cutting Patrick Peterson and Mason Cole and Mitchell Trubisky and Keanu Neal and all these guys that they've cut, right now the projected 2024 cap space heading into free agency is just over $16 million for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I don't think the Steelers are done, all right? Something is still going to happen with Allen Robinson before the tampering period on Monday. Whether that be just straight up cutting him and saving $10 million in cap space, that's what I would rather do, or A-Rob's going to take a pay cut. Now, the Steelers reportedly want him on the team. They want him to take a pay cut, but the big question is Allen Robinson going to take that deal? If I were him, I probably would do that just because I'm not sure if there's any other teams in the National Football League that would want him after the kind of season that he had last year. So I'd probably take the pay cut if I were A-Rob. But at the end of the day, I would probably cut him and save $10 million additional dollars before free agency, getting your cap figure up to about $26 million to sign some players, including potentially Mitch Morse, the center recently released by the Buffalo Bills, who it was reported today will meet with the Pittsburgh Steelers before the start of free agency here. And he's somebody that's kind of a veteran. He's getting a little bit older. He's a great locker room presence, so he'd be a great fixture in the middle of the offensive line. And he's a little bit older, so it still leaves the door open for the Steelers to potentially draft a center in the NFL draft this year, even early, because like I said, Morse is getting older and his production has been dipping, even though he did grade at about a 65 overall last year with Pro Football Focus. So that'll be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. It seems like a Russell Wilson deal is on the horizon, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now and join us live whenever the big news hits. Again, I really do appreciate all your support. Click that subscribe button, and until next time, here we go, Steelers.